Rolls-Royce makes the world's most luxurious cars, the kind of cars that only the richest, the most powerful dream of owning. But here's the shocker. This $7 billion legacy didn't start with wealth or privilege. No, Rolls-Royce began with a boy who grew up with almost nothing, working day and night just to survive. Henry Royce was born into poverty. In 1863, his life was unforgiving. His father's business failed when he was just 4, leaving the family struggling to put food on the table. And then, when Henry was 9, tragedy struck again. His father passed away. With no father, no money, and no way to make ends meet, his mother took up work as a maid, while young Henry delivered newspapers and ran errands just to help his family get by. His future looked bleak. But even as a child, Henry was different. He was determined to change his life, no matter what. At 14, Henry got his first break, a small apprenticeship with the Great Northern Railway Company, thanks to an aunt who saw something in him. For the next 3 years, he worked from morning till night, learning carpentry, math, and most importantly, the early science of electronics, while others would give up. Henry only worked harder, making tiny model machines and dreaming of something bigger. By 21, Henry Royce had already worked for several engineering companies, gaining skills and a reputation for precision. But the company he worked for went bankrupt, leaving him unemployed once again. Most people would have looked for another job, but Henry was ready to take a gamble. With only £20 to his name, he opened a small workshop in Manchester, working on whatever came his way, sewing machines, light fittings, and anything else he could fix. It was a simple setup. But Henry's reputation grew. He became known for his perfectionist touch, and soon he started manufacturing his own parts, arc lamps, bulb holders, and even electric doorbells, bara. Slowly, his business expanded, and by 1900 he was running a successful engineering company, one that had already crossed £20,000 in sales. Henry Royce, once a penniless child laborer, was now a respected engineer. But this was just the beginning. Chapter 3. A Fateful Encounter. At the same time Henry Royce was building his small empire, another man was making waves in the world of automobiles. Charles Rolls. Rolls came from wealth and privilege, and he was fascinated by cars, machines, and even airplanes. In 1904, a friend introduced Rolls to Henry Royce, saying, "If you're looking for a well-made car, there's no one better than Henry." Rolls, skeptical at first, visited Royce's workshop, curious about this unknown engineer with a talent for mechanics. The moment Rolls took a Royce car for a test drive, he was sold. He'd never driven anything so silent, so perfectly engineered. The two men were complete opposites, Royce a self-made perfectionist from humble beginnings, and Rolls, a wealthy aristocrat with a passion for speed and luxury. But their partnership was destined to be legendary. Chapter 4. Building the Legacy. Rolls and Royce had a vision: to create the best cars in the world. Their first car, the Rolls-Royce 10 HP, was unveiled in 1904, and it was an instant sensation. Royce brought his meticulous attention to detail, while Rolls brought flair, charm, and an understanding of the luxury market. Each car was handcrafted, every part engineered to perfection. And soon, they were attracting the attention of the rich and famous. But their success wasn't just about luxury. Rolls-Royce cars were known for their endurance and reliability, setting records and winning races. In 1906, they introduced a car that would become legendary, the Silver Ghost, named for its silent engine. It was tested on a grueling 24,000 kilometer. endurance run, proving its toughness and cementing Rolls-Royce's reputation as the best car in the world. Chapter 5. The Whisper Test. Rolls-Royce was known not only for luxury but for sheer engineering excellence. They demonstrated this with what would become known as the Whisper Test. Mechanics would place a coin on the Silver Ghost's hood, start the engine, and drive. The engine was so smooth that the coin never wavered, proving that this was no ordinary machine. It was a Rolls-Royce, and as word spread, the Silver Ghost became the car of choice for kings, queens, and leaders around the world. With the Silver Ghost, Rolls-Royce was no longer just a car company. It was a brand. They weren't just selling vehicles, they were selling status, elegance, and the promise of perfection. Chapter 6. The Price of Greatness. Rolls-Royce continued to elevate their brand. Tragedy struck. Charles Rolls, always seeking new heights, turned his focus to aviation, a passion that would ultimately cost him his life. In 1910, he became the first Briton to die in an airplane crash. Royce, heartbroken, lost his partner and friend. But he channeled his grief into further perfecting their cars, dedicating himself to their shared vision. Chapter 7. The Spirit of Ecstasy. As the brand grew, a unique trend emerged among Rolls-Royce owners. Customers began adding mascots to their cars' hoods, but some of these were, let's just say, not very classy. Royce, a man of precision and taste, wanted a symbol that captured the elegance of his cars. So in 1911, Rolls-Royce introduced the Spirit of Ecstasy, the graceful figurine that would forever be linked to their brand. Sculpted by artist Charles Sykes, this delicate mascot symbolized everything Rolls-Royce stood for: beauty, refinement, and the quiet thrill of excellence. Chapter 8. The Shift to Aviation. In 1914, as World War I erupted, the British government approached Rolls-Royce with a request to build aircraft engines for the war effort. Royce had never wanted to stray from cars, but he knew the stakes were high. So, with meticulous craftsmanship, he developed the Rolls-Royce Eagle, an engine that powered half of the Allied aircraft fleet. The Eagle marked the beginning of a new legacy, and from that point on, Rolls-Royce wasn't just about cars, it was about conquering the skies. Chapter 9. Facing Financial Storms. By the 1960s, Rolls-Royce had built an empire, but it wasn't all smooth roads ahead. Increased competition and rising costs put tremendous financial pressure on the company. Determined to keep Rolls-Royce at the top, the company split into two separate entities, one focused on aviation and the other on luxury cars. Today, Rolls-Royce is more than just a car brand. It's a legacy of precision, dedication, and a pursuit of perfection. Each car is still handcrafted, taking up to 6 months to complete, with every detail customized to meet the owner's vision. The company's iconic vehicles, from the Phantom to the Ghost and the Cullinan, embody the ultimate in luxury, each a masterpiece in its own right.